Hi, and welcome to True Crime, a channel dedicated to the dark underworld of criminal activity carried out by gangsters, mobsters, cartel leaders, and others. In this video, we'll be taking you on a journey through the fascinating story of Hotel Escobar, the luxury prison built by Pablo Escobar for himself. From the opulent furnishings to the extensive security measures, we'll explore the details of this lavish prison and the notorious drug lord's life behind bars. Let's get started. Who is Pablo Escobar? Pablo Escobar, a name that invokes a range of emotions and reactions from people all over the world. But how did this infamous figure rise to power and build his iconic mansion, Lacateral? Well, it all started in the dusty streets of Rio, Colombia. Born into a family with limited resources, Pablo had to get creative to make ends meet. As a teenager, he ventured into the world of crime, selling fake diplomas and smuggling electronics. But it was his love for fast cars that eventually led him down a path of no return. In 1974, Pablo was arrested for stealing cars. But this setback didn't deter him. Instead, he saw an opportunity in the burgeoning cocaine industry in Colombia. And just like that, a drug lord was born. With a group of like-minded individuals, he formed the Medellín Cartel, which quickly became one of the most powerful organizations in the world. Pablo was a man of grandeur, and his wealth reflected it. He owned a vast estate, Hacienda Naples, which was more than just a home. It was a symbol of his power and success. The estate boasted a soccer field, artificial lakes, an airstrip, and even a zoo complete with exotic animals. But his philanthropic side was also evident, as he participated in charity work and even had a short stint in politics. The creation of La Catedral. Pablo Escobar, the notorious drug lord who ruled Colombia with an iron fist, knew the stakes were getting higher day by day. The government had issued a warrant for his arrest, and his enemies were closing in on him from all sides. The once untouchable kingpin was now fighting for his life. But he was not one to go down without a fight. He had amassed a vast fortune and an army of loyal followers. However, as Los Pepes, a vigilante group, began targeting his associates and loved ones, the reality of his situation began to sink in. He needed a place to escape, a sanctuary to lay low until the storm blew over. The war with his longtime rivals, the Cali cartel, was also taking its toll on his empire. The pressure was mounting, and he knew he couldn't hold out forever. Even his daughter's injury in a bombing of his home was not enough to deter him. But the final straw came when he realized that he could be extradited to the United States. For Pablo, this was not an option. He always said that he would prefer a grave in Colombia than a cell in the US, and so, with no other choice, he decided to negotiate with the Colombian government, hoping for a chance to start over. Pablo Escobar's surrender was a shock to many, but what happened next was even more surprising. The infamous drug lord agreed to serve his time in a prison of his own making, a place that would become known as Lacateral. It was no ordinary penitentiary, it was a luxurious resort designed with Escobar's comfort in mind. The prison had all the amenities one would expect from a five-star hotel, a bar, disco, jacuzzi, and even a waterfall. It was a far cry from the bleak and cramped cells that most inmates endured. Of course, such luxury came at a steep price. Escobar's men heavily guarded the prison, making sure his enemies couldn't get in and his friends couldn't get out. In other words, it was the perfect place for him to continue running his drug empire from behind bars. For Escobar, La Catedral was more than just a prison, it was a symbol of his power and influence. He had built a fortress that was impenetrable to the outside world. But as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. Escobar's reign was short-lived, and eventually he was forced to flee the prison and go into hiding. Inside La Catedral prison, Pablo Escobar was no ordinary criminal. He was a mastermind of manipulation, a kingpin who could bend the rules to his will. Even when confined to La Catedral, he continued to run his drug empire with ease, flouting his surrender conditions and daring the government to do something about it. It was a game of cat and mouse, with Escobar always one step ahead. He reveled in his power and influence, knowing that he was untouchable. And he was right. Despite protests from government officials, Escobar remained at La Catedral, living a life of luxury that was a far cry from his humble beginnings. He had everything he could want, soccer players, prostitutes, parties, all within the confines of his custom-built prison. And with the level of security so low, Escobar's brutality was rampant. He was not one to be crossed, and he made sure that everyone knew it. But the government could not ignore his flagrant disregard for the law forever. Finally, they took action, but it was too little, too late. Escobar had already won. The government's attempts to appear in control of the situation were feeble at best, and the writing was on the wall. Escobar had outsmarted them once again. Perhaps adding insult to injury, the government added an amendment to the Constitution stating that no citizen could be extradited to the United States. It was a concession that Escobar had won, yet another sign of his power and influence. But for all his bravado, Escobar's reign of terror would eventually come to an end. His luck had run out, and the government could no longer turn a blind eye to his crimes. The story of Pablo Escobar's time at Lacateral is a testament to his unbridled ambition, his ruthless brutality, and his ability to outmaneuver his enemies. It is a story that will be told for generations to come, a cautionary tale of what can happen when one man's lust for power goes unchecked. Government takes action. Pablo Escobar's escape from Lacateral was one of the most audacious prison breaks in history. With his vast network of corrupt officials, it's no wonder he was able to slip away from his supposed fortress. His 13 months of luxury behind bars had come to an end, and now the entire nation was after him. The chase was on, and Escobar's clever tactics made it difficult for authorities to catch him. But as the noose tightened around him, Escobar knew his time was running out. He couldn't hide forever. In a desperate attempt to evade capture, he moved from safe house to safe house, never staying in one place for too long. It was a dangerous game of cat and mouse, and the stakes were high. Escobar's empire was crumbling around him, and the world was watching his every move. But in the end, it was his arrogance that led to his downfall. He refused to leave his hometown, where he felt safest, and the authorities used this to their advantage. In a dramatic shootout on December 2, 1993, Colombian National Police finally caught up with the notorious drug lord. Escobar's reign of terror had come to an end, but his legacy would live on for years to come. The story of Pablo Escobar is a cautionary tale of power, corruption, and the price of greed. Lacateral Prison today. The transformation of Lacateral by the Benedictine monks was truly remarkable. What was once a luxurious prison for a drug lord had become a haven for meditation and religious contemplation. The monks poured their hearts and souls into renovating the abandoned site, adding a chapel, a library, and a cafeteria for visitors. They also established a guest house for religious pilgrims, workshops for artisans, and even a memorial to the victims of the cartel, who suffered at the hands of Pablo Escobar and his associates. The monks were not content to simply build and pray, however. They recognized that the area around Lacateral had been hit hard by the decline of the drug trade and the closure of the prison, leaving many without jobs or hope. So, they made it their mission to hire locals to help with the running of the site, giving them a chance to earn a living and contribute to the community. The transformation was so successful that the city of Envigado, which had once ceded the prison to the monks temporarily, eventually decided to give them the entire site. Today, Lacateral stands as a testament to the power of redemption and the resilience of the human spirit. It is a place where people of all faiths can come to find peace and healing, and where the ghosts of the past have been laid to rest. Thank you for watching another amazing video from our true crime team. Like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned to our next real-life true crime video.